Lesson 1-4, multiples, the least common multiple and the least common denominator. So in this lesson, we're going to find the least common multiple of a set of numbers. We're going to find the least common denominator, LCD, of a set of fractions. And we're going to rename fractions with unlike denominators. So some vocabulary. When they talk about multiples, they're talking about the product of that number and any whole number. So an example, if I said what are the multiples of 2, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14, and so forth. Because 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and so forth. So it's always that number times another number. The least common multiple, the LCM, is the least non-zero multiple that is common to all given numbers. So one way you can think about it is like if you're counting by fours, it'd be 4, 8, 12, 16. All of those numbers are multiples of 4. And so when you're trying to find the least common multiple, you're trying to find out what is the smallest number that all the numbers have in common. And then when it says the least common denominator, that's the least common multiple of the denominator of 2 or more fractions. So you really find least common denominators when you're adding and subtracting fractions. So you're just finding the common denominator. And then we're going to look at algebraic fractions. Algebraic fractions are just those fractions that have a variable in the numerator and or the denominator. So question, a botanist waters a plant every 4th day and gives it plant food every 6th day. If the botanist gives both water and plant food on April 1st, what is the next date in April when the plant will receive both? Now there's 2 ways you can find the least common multiple. You could list the multiples or you can use prime factorization. I will show you both ways and then you can decide which one's easier or best for you. So if I'm going to do the multiples of 4, I would have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and I'll leave it there, and then I'll just start with 6s now. So for 6s, the multiples of 6 would be 6, 12, 18, but I'm going to stop there because I notice they both have a 12. That's the smallest number they have in common. So the least common multiple would be 12. So that is one method you could use. Another method is using prime factorization. And then you're going to use every prime factor the greatest number of times it occurs. So if I have 4, this is 2 times 2. And if I have 6, that is 2 times 3. Now, if I look at the factors of each of them, I have 2 and I have 3 as my factors. But this one has 2 2's, so I have to include 2 2's, so I can put it as 2 squared, or I can just say 2 times 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So that's another way you can use to find the least common multiple. So sample problems A, we're going to find the least common multiple of the numbers given. So for this one, 6 and 24. So here, I'm going to use prime factorization here. So I know this is 2 times 3, and this is 2 times 12, and 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. So now I know I'm using 2's and 3's, and they each have 1 3, but this one has 3 2's. So I have to use that the greatest amount of time. 2 cubed is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So the least common multiple is 24. Now keep in mind, the least common multiple cannot be smaller than the biggest number. So keep that in mind. Next one, 4 and 13. Well, 4 and 13, 4 is just 2 times 2. 13 is 13 times 1. So what factors are they using? They're using 2, they're using 1, and they're using 13. But they're using 2 times. So that is 4 times 13 times 1. 4 times 13 is going to give us 52. So the least common multiple would be 52. Now that's going to be a quicker way of doing it. You probably wouldn't want to count by 4s and then count by 13s to find out which do they match up. Could you still get the right answer? Yes, but you don't know how far you have to go. And if looking at our answer, you'd have to go pretty far from 4 to get to 52. Next one, we got 9, which is 3 times 3. 15 is 3 times 5. And 24 is 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. So now I look at my numbers. I am using 2s, I'm using 3s, and I'm using 5s. Now the most number of 2s being used is right here, so there's 3 of them. The most number of 3s is here, that's 2. And most 1s is just, or most 5s is just 1s. So we have 8 times 9 is 45. And 45 times 5, and that's going to give us 5 times 5 is 25, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22, so 225. A couple other ones. The least common multiple can be found with variables. The least common multiple with variables is every variable with the highest exponents. So let's do the 16 first. So 16 would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And then I have 3 a's. So I'm just going to keep it as a cubed. And then 56 would be 2 times 2 times 2, because that's 8. And 8 times 7 is 56. And then I have an a squared and I have a b. So my factors are going to be 2's and 7's, and my letters are going to be A and B. The most number of 2's is 4. The most 7's is 1. The most A's being used is 3. And the most B's are just 1. So if I multiply all that together, 2 to the 4th power is 16. 16 times 7. So let's just get our calculator out quickly. 16 times 7, which will give us 112. And then we have a cubed b. So that would be the least common multiple of those two expressions. Next, we got 4m squared n. So that's 2 times 2 times m squared n. 14 is 2 times 7 m cubed, n cubed. 49 is just 7 times 7, m and n. So what do we have in our factors? We got 2's, we have 7's, we have m's, and we have n. The most number of 2's being used is 2. The most 7's is 2. The most m's is 3. And the most n is also 3. So we have 4 times 49. So let's grab our calculator quickly. 4 times 49 gives us 196. So we have 196. And then that's m cubed, n cubed. And that would be our least common multiple. Next, finding the least common denominator. So the trick, if the numbers are prime, multiply the two to find the least common multiple. So we're going to find the least common denominator of the following fractions. So 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. 16 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, because that's 4 times 4. And 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. So if I look at my numbers, I have 2's and I got 3's. The most number of 2's is 4 of them. And the most 3's is 2. So we have 16 times 18. So if we grab our calculators, 16 times 18 give us 288. So the least common denominator would be 288. Next, we just look at the denominators here. So we have 5 and then D, or not D, B. And then 15 is 3 times 5 times B. And 25 is just 5 times 5 times B. So we have 5's, we got 3's, and we have B's. The most 5's being used is 2, the most 3's is 1, and the most B's is 1. So it's 25 times 3, 25 times, or 5 squared is 25, and 25 times 3 is 75. B. And that would be our least common denominators. So that's going to help us as we look at our next set, is where we're going to have to rewrite the fraction with the least common denominator. So if I do 6, 7, and 5. So if I do the prime numbers, so that's 2 times 3, that's 7 times 1, and that's 5 times 1. So we have to multiply the 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 times 7 is 210. So we need 3 fractions with 210 as the denominator. So 6 times what gives us 210? So if I take our calculator, we'll just do 210. Divide it by 6. That gives us 35. And if I take that times a negative 5, that's going to give us a negative 175. And 7 times 30 gives us 210. So negative 3 times 30 is negative 90. And 210 divided by 5, that would be, well, 5 goes into 21. 4 times 5 is 20. 21 minus 20 is 1. Bring down the zeros, so 5 goes into 10 2 times. So that should be 42. And 5 times 42 is 210, and negative 1 times 42 gives you negative 42. So this would be our set, renamed. Next, we got 12, 16, and 18. So 12 is just 2 times 2 times 3. 16, we know that's 2 times 2, which is 4, and times 2 times 2, which is another 4, that's 16. 18 would be 2 times 3 times 3. So we have 4 2's, so that's 16, times 2 3's, which is 9, so 16 times 9. So 16 times 9, I think, is 225. Or no, not 225, 144. So we have 144. For all of our fractions. And 12 times 12 is 144. So 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. Here we're going to have a 2 here in front. And then we have to think, okay, 16. So that'd be 16 times 9 gives us 144. So 3 times 9 is 27. 18 and 144, so I believe that would be multiplying it by, wouldn't be 6, so let's check that out. So 144 divided by 18 gives us 8. So it would be 8, so 8 times negative 5 would give us a negative 40. So that would be our 3 renamed fractions. And this next one, 6, 12, and 4, I know that the least common multiple is 12. So 6 times 2 is 12. 7 times 2 is 14. This one stays the same, so negative 3 and 5/12. And multiply the top and bottom by 3, that gives us 33/12. And our last group, here we have some variables in the denominator. So here we got 2 times 2 times 2 times a. This one is 3 times 5 times a. So I have 8 times 5 is 40, and 40 times 3 is 120. And then I have an a. So 120 over a is our least common denominator. 8 times 15 would give us 120, so 7 times 15 would give us 105 a. And then the other one, 15 times what gives us 120. So 15 times 8 is 120, so 2 times 8 is 16, and we have our, we wouldn't have to multiply it by the a, so I got to erase this a up here. So this would be our renamed fractions. This next one, we have 2 times 2 times x. We got 5 times 1 times x. And we got 2 times 2 times 5 times x, which will make it 4 times 5, which is 20. So we have 20x. 4 times 5 is 20, so 3 times 5 is 15. I already have my x there. 5 times 4 is 20, so 2 times 4 is 8. I still have my x there. And then I have 20 times 1, so that means negative 1, or 9 times negative 1, or 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. There are my 3 fractions with the least common denominator. So that is our lesson on multiples and least common multiple and least common denominators.